Joe Flacco is back, and so is the Optimistic Fan Club. What is going on, Optimistic Fan Club? Thank you so much for tuning in. The offseason is over. We are back in full swing. Expect regular videos. We just dropped a huge Shedeur Sanders video on Patreon, over an hour-long film breakdown. I had also done a 25-minute video that was going to get posted to YouTube today talking about Kirk Cousins, how I thought he was going to be the day one starter. There were always Flacco rumors, but I thought it was more so just wishful thinking. I don't know if it's necessarily a better move than Cousins. It's definitely probably a lower price tag, but I still think that the Browns are going to take a quarterback, and it would not be a bad move to take Shedeur Sanders. I'm going to insert that portion of me talking about what I liked in terms of his strengths and weaknesses. But before we get there, we need to talk about the Flacco signing, what it means, what can we expect? This is the plain and simple truth. He is not going to be the savior of the Browns. I'm already seeing people commenting saying, you got to bring back Amari Cooper now. You definitely have to re-sign Nick Chubb. Believe me, I want Nick Chubb. But we're trying to recreate a great season that happened 2 years ago. People immediately, they love the oldies, they love the hits. They think that Flacco's just going to completely bring us back to that big winning streak, an 11-win season. That is not guaranteed. It is not close to guaranteed whatsoever. So we got to temper our expectations a little bit. Flacco didn't thrive in Indianapolis the way people thought. He definitely had good games, had some big comebacks, some big throws, and he was also working with a good offensive coordinator, like a really talented one. Shane Steichen was very highly lauded. He really helped turn Jalen Hurts into what he's become. Then he goes. The Anthony Richardson's been tough in terms of evaluating him as an offensive coach because he's limited as a passer. But still, Flacco wasn't in some bad scenario in Indianapolis. He had weapons, he had talent around him, and he had a good offensive coach. Yet he struggled at times. So that's what we can expect. A guy who's more than capable, who has the pedigree, who's done it for Cleveland, who's done it at all stages in his career, but is prone to making big mistakes. And we saw that balloon get popped in the first round against Houston when Flacco fever was at an all-time high and people thought that the Browns could be a legitimate Super Bowl contender. So that's what we got to keep in mind here. It's not going to be this beautiful, unblemished thing. Flacco's a guy who likes to take chances. He likes to rip the ball downfield. And all of that to say, this is a one-year rental. This is something now to help the team be competitive now. But what that also means is that having a guy who's probably going to at least get you 6 or 7 wins means you're not going to be in position to draft the quarterback that you want next year. That is a big argument that people make, saying don't take a quarterback this year, especially not in the first round, because the crop next year is so much better. This is something that I talked about in yesterday's video, and it still holds true. Look at Carson Beck. He was projected to be the first overall pick by Bleacher Report, going to the Giants in the preseason last year. He was also the third favorite for Heisman odds. That guy is not in this draft. Who knows if he's going to go to the NFL in the first 4 rounds next year when he enters the NFL draft, right? So we can't expect too much. Arch Manning could be a flop. The only guy who I look at next year who I'm definitely, and if he was available this year, I'd say definitely take him, is Drew Allar. I look at that guy and I'm extremely talented, big-bodied, guy is a dude. He's probably going to be the first quarterback taken next year, or at least I think he will be. The Browns aren't going to have a chance to take that guy. They're not going to have a chance to take Arch Manning because they're not going to be a 3-win team again. They're not going to be a 3-win team and lose all the tiebreakers that they needed to get the draft position that they had this year. So now we got to ask, what do we do and who do we take? As of yesterday, I was saying it would not be a bad idea to take Shedeur, and here is why. When I watched Shedeur Sanders, this is what I saw. A guy who excelled in the short to intermediate game. Slants and digs. Money, beautiful, great velocity, compact throwing motion, elite level 1 and 2 balls. His ability to rip the ball down the seam, clear the backers, keep it in front of the safeties. next to no one. Like him and Cam Ward are on a different level in terms of the guys in this draft when it comes to that kind of accuracy and velocity on those sorts of passes. He throws a beautiful fade ball in the red zone, making him very viable in using the Browns' weapons like David Njoku, Jerry Jeudy in the red zone, Cedric Tillman, guys who can go up and get the ball along the sidelines. I think that he had really good rhythm. People try to make a big deal about, oh, he pats the ball. People are going to break on that. No, you're not. It's a part of his rhythm and his delivery. It's a complete non-issue. So don't buy into that. I think that he resets his feet well when he's on the move. He gets his body squared up and he can really stretch the ball well to the sidelines and put it in a spot that's safe. It's either going out of bounds or it's only where his receiver can catch it. So when I watch him, I see a guy who can absolutely excel in the NFL. He has weaknesses without a doubt, like retreating. That is my biggest issue with him. I think that he takes too many negative plays. Within part of that, yes, sometimes it's like, dude, step up into this gap, take off, run with the ball, or check it down. You have guys open right here. That's definitely a thing. But a lot of it too is like this offensive line in Colorado was not good. He was getting guys pushed into his lap constantly, and he didn't have as much firepower as other guys have. One other caveat, and I talk about this in the video, it's linked below. Go check it out on Patreon, support the page. Some people's apprehension with going with a guy like Shedeur is that like, oh, he's going to make it all about him. He's going to be a distraction. He's going to be this. He's going to be that. If we're going to point to, okay, he had a song and he does the watch thing, the Shedeur when he scores. Sure. A guy's boisterous. He has bravado, whatever. He's obviously going to mature. He's obviously going to grow up. What about Baker Mayfield though? Going #1 overall with a video on a dash cam of him running away from the cops and getting slammed into a median while he's drunk. It's like, that is way more of a red flag than anything Shedeur Sanders has ever done. So try and keep this all in mind. So with all that being said, with Shedeur's strengths and weaknesses, my feeling that he's going to be a good NFL player, do you take him at 2? Now, with Flacco coming in, I think that they're putting themselves more in a position to win right now. And then they're going to take a more developmental guy between rounds 2 to 4, and maybe someone with a similar skill set as Flacco. So with that, let's go into my mock draft because there's going to be a lot of changes compared to the one that I created literally yesterday. So at 2 now, instead of Shedeur, you take Abdul Carter. Travis Hunter could also be the pick here. I just think that you want a master when you're taking the 2nd overall pick. I think Travis Hunter is extremely, extremely talented. He has elite ball skills, but I don't think that he steps in and he's the #1 receiver in Cleveland. I don't think that he's on that level. I think that he'd be a great #2, but I don't think he steps in and he's like a Malik Neighbors. I don't think that he's that guy. So take Abdul Carter, extremely talented, physical, high motor edge defender who goes in, you pair him with Garrett, your defensive line immediately becomes one of the best in the league. We know how important that is for postseason success. We've seen what Philly has done. Obviously, they have a ton of offensive talent as well, but that defense shut Mahomes down in the Super Bowl. So #2, we pass on Shedeur, get Abdul Carter. Then at 33, what has this offense been missing aside from a quarterback? The run game. It was non-existent, and I think that a lot of that was probably Andy Dickerson, his blocking schemes, losing Bill Callahan, Nick Chubb not being quite the same. Jerome Ford is just not a feature back. I've been saying this for 2.5 years now, and people haven't been listening. He's just not that guy. They need a workhorse, big-bodied, explosive, one-cut zone system back. You take Amarian Hampton from North Carolina. This dude is 6 foot to 6'2", 225 pounds. He reminds me a little bit of Arian Foster, of Matt Forte, those kind of backs who just come in and punish dudes at the point of attack, who have breakaway speed, the big body, the ability to take a big workload of 20, 25 carries. That is what this offense is going to be shifting back to. They need a feature back. It is not Jerome Ford. Take a great running back in this position. And it could be him. It could be Travion Henderson. It could be in a later round with Quinshon Judkins, Devin Neal from Kansas, guys who I've talked about. But I like those guys. I really like Amarian Hampton, though. Then at 67, we go offensive tackle Wyatt Millum. We know that DeJuan Jones looked pretty good at left tackle, but he has consistently been injured through his first 2 seasons. When he's been healthy, when he's been around a great group of coaches, he's been good. Backslid a little bit, then moved to left tackle, was pretty solid there. In general, like, they just need talent at that position because they have had a lot of injuries to their O-line, and good tackles are hard to come by. I think Wyatt Millam from West Virginia, like, he's a guy who went up against not Micah Parsons, but Abdul Carter, and really held his own for the most part. Like, Wyatt Millam, I think, is an underrated left tackle in this, big body, obviously, as all left tackles are, but moves pretty well. And I think that as a guy who can come off the bench in case DeJuan Jones is injured, it's a great insurance policy to have. And we know that even in the season with Flacco, it's like offensive line injuries killed them later on in the year. It made it really difficult to succeed. You can't go wrong getting a guy like Wyatt Millam. So that's my pick at 67. Then at 94, we need offensive talent to really reignite this team. We're going to be using a lot of 2 tight end sets. At 94, we go Harold Fannin Jr., Bowling Green. He might already be taken at this point, but I think outside of Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland, this is the dude. And in terms of a pure pass catcher, he might be even better. Like, I watched his bowl game, and he just played out of his mind, just catching everything that comes his way. He's a good route runner. He moves well with the ball. Maybe he's not a true tight end, but he's a big body mismatch guy who's going to be way more effective than Harrison Bryant was, than Austin Hooper was in this system. I think that him and David Njoku would be a lethal combination. You're going to get the mismatches you want and the big bodies on field to push the pile and run the ball. And then at 104, this is where we get our quarterback here. Will Howard from Ohio State. Look, I just think that size is really important. I think if Shedeur is the pick, if they trade back into the first round, I will have no issues with that. I think that he's going to be a good player. But I think Will Howard has been slept on. Yes, his combine performance was not good, but his stretch through the college football playoffs after the Michigan game and on was pretty fantastic. And the guy made a lot of great plays. And the guy is an absolute leader. And the guy can run the ball, and he's 6'4" and almost 240 pounds. That matters in the AFC North. And if we're talking about this idea of like, oh, Joe Flacco will mentor the quarterback, we know he's not going to be that guy. He doesn't want to be a mentor. He wants to start and he wants to play. But I think bringing in a guy like Will Howard, who is obviously very competitive, but is also a team player, he's going to be willing to sit and learn with a guy with a similar kind of build and play style in terms of arm strength and delivery. You know, Will Howard definitely has the crazy mobility to go along with that. So that isn't one for one, but just to say, it's like, I think that if we're talking about a guy who could learn under a guy, I think Will Howard could absolutely learn from sitting underneath Joe Flacco for a year, and he will be patient. He's still going to be competitive and want to play, but he will be patient enough where it's not going to create distractions. And when he gets his chance, he'll probably make the most of it. So I like Will Howard. That's probably going to be our next Patreon breakdown that we do, our film breakdown. So make sure you join and you're alerted for when that drops. But Will Howard at 104. Then I'm going to burn through these last ones a bit quicker here. But at 179, going Miles Frazier, interior O-line. He's plays at LSU. He's worked all around the offensive line. I think, again, bolster your interior O-line, bolster your O-line room in general. You need health, you need size, you need guys who are aggressive, who can adapt, and who are just going to play better than the rest of these guys really have over the past few seasons. 192, Cody Simon, linebacker, Ohio State. He's another guy who's like, just had a great college football playoff. Every game he was involved. He swarms to the ball. He's undersized, sure, but I think that he is a great nose for the ball and he's a good football player. I think that that is what matters. So I like Cody Simon there. Then at 200, we're going Notre Dame, Riley Mills, defensive line. Guys like 6'5", 290, 300 pounds. Really big dude. You need to regroup in that interior defensive line with young, big talent, not just like these milk bags, not undersized dudes who are kind of quick and whatever. You need big people who are durable, who will play every game and can make an impact, sink the double, do everything that an interior defensive lineman needs to do. So Riley Mills, 216. If he falls this far, I think it's fantastic. So you already got your workhorse back in Amari and Hampton. How about we get our scat back, our change of pace back in Jordan James from Oregon? He's a guy who I watch and I just think, again, extremely undervalued because it's such a deep running back draft this year. If this guy falls this far, you take him. I think Jordan James, in terms of his speed, what he can do out of the backfield as a pass catcher, and his toughness for being a smaller guy, is so valuable. So I like him there. And then final pick of the draft, 255, going to RJ Mickens from Clemson, safety. Honestly, haven't watched a ton of film on this guy, a little bit from in season, but just getting someone to step in and build some depth after the departure of Juan Thornhill. And I don't think it's going to be hard to play much better than he has. So getting people who are leaders, who play hard, who have a nose for the ball, that's it. So that's the mock draft. That's, I guess, the 4.0 because 3.0 came out yesterday, but it changes after bringing in Flacco. So guys, I mean, with Flacco coming in, he's definitely going to be the day one starter. People are going to go nuts for him, but let's keep in mind, like, he's 40 something years old now. Like, he's older. It's his 18th season. He's not going to be the savior of this team. He's a good one-year rental. The Browns cannot wait till next year. They still got to get a quarterback this draft, and I think that Will Howard is a solid choice. I think taking Shedeur earlier, trading back in the first round, is a good choice. But we are going to see what happens. And we are going to be doing a live stream Sunday, the 27th. It's going to be our NFL draft recap, our first live show of the year. So make sure you subscribe, hit the bell and all that so you know when we are going live. We'll release more information on that shortly, but be sure to check that out. Also, too, I got a new YouTube page open. It's more behind the scenes stuff, more vlog style stuff with business, stuff with, you know, my training, trying to dunk this year. Check that out. I know only a couple people might be interested, but if you like what we're doing over here, I think you'll like this stuff too. And be sure to check all that out. Check out Patreon for the new Shedeur video. I think that all those things I said about him still stand. And I appreciate you guys tuning in. A lot more to come. We'll see you.